Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins. I'm Trevor Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. This week we have a special guest live from Maui, James Silvani.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Thanks for doing the show.
Sure. Thanks.
Um, for those who don't know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, I am mostly known as a Disney comics artist. Did the Darkwing Duck comics for several years for both Boom and Joe Books. Started off with Boom by doing the Muppets comics. Moved on to mostly cover work for IDW, doing Ninja Turtles, Transformers, things like that. And now I have my own Kickstarter that I'm about to start in a few weeks. And I'd like to talk about that.
Oh, we will get to that. We have to get through some other topics, but we will definitely talk
Sure.
about your Kickstarter. So, when did you discover that you wanted to be an artist?
Boy, it was when I was a little kid. I mean, I always liked drawing, and my folks, God bless them, it really encouraged me to draw. And I think it mainly came from they could take me anywhere. They could take me to a restaurant. They could take me to a family gathering. They could take me wherever. And I would just sit there and draw the whole time. I'd keep quiet. So, and they said, you like doing this. My mom was actually had a very short-lived career as a Disney ink and paint girl from the. This was back in the late '40s, and she unfortunately had to quit very early on in her career there, and but always encouraged my art, and I've been doing it since then. Since I was a kid, I just never stopped. I had the awesome privilege when I was 10 years old to meet Charles Schulz. My mom knew where he ate breakfast every day, and just a chance, and went up to the restaurant where he was at. Nobody else in the place. The waitress saw that I had a stack of drawings with me, and she took me up and introduced me to him. And it was the most amazing thing. He looked at my stuff, and he said, "Boy, you're a lot farther along than I ever was as a kid when I was your." And it kind of that set me out for a life of comics. Now, of course, growing up, I always thought I was going to be a syndicated newspaper cartoonist.
Right.
But try picking up a newspaper these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or finding comics of it.
Yeah.
So, were there other artists besides Charles Schultz that were inspirations for you?
My biggest. I mean, it was a lot of comic strips. It was Peanuts. Popeye was huge for me. Comics wise, I mean, I started reading. My brother would leave me his old DC comics and Archie comics growing up, but the biggest real influence on me for comic books was Carl Barks.
Yeah.
With the Uncle Scrooge comics. Now, I didn't even like just the Donald Duck ones. I loved Uncle Scrooge. And I would just they when I was growing up, and I could buy my own comics at the dime store. They used to have a 4-pack of Gold Key comics. They were the Disney comics reprints, and you could buy them. There were 4 comics in there for $1, and I would buy those and just read them for days on end. And then next week another one would come out, and I'd buy those. And it was just all Carl Barks reprints, and I loved that. I think the other biggest influence I had was, I mean, growing up, everybody read Magazine. I was more of a Cracked Magazine guy, for the reason only being because of John Severin's artwork. My brother had a bunch of his old war comics, but I loved the parodies that were done for Mad Magazine. They were just the artwork just spoke to me. There are artists that are out there, coming from me as an artist, that you get what they're trying to say. you get every gag from every little brush stroke and pen mark, and he was one of those guys that I just got exactly the sense of humor. He was a guy mostly known for war and Western comics, but his humor work was just unparalleled to me.
So, what is your artistic process like?
Boy, that's a good question. It's I think that the hardest part for me is always the beginning, the roughing out of stuff. I mean, I know a lot of artists go into the thumbnail stage saying, "Oh, this is where you're free. You get to, you get to work loose. You get to just have fun with it." But me, it's like, thinking of this stuff is hard. It's different with the project that I'm working on right now because I'm writing it myself as well. But I've had the very great privilege of working with writers who will give me free reign as far as they're not completely stuck to the written word. They trust me enough that I can. So, but it does make it easy, but it does make it hard on mine because it's like, if I don't have a specific direction, I got to think, oh, geez.
More responsibility on yourself.
Yeah. So.
Did you go to school to study art, or?
I went to school to learn how to paint. So I went to San Francisco State, and it's not good to have regrets in life, of course.
Right.
But one of my regrets that I had is that I had an opportunity to go to CalArts and to learn animation. And I was so stuck on wanting to do newspaper comics at the time. I thought, oh, well, it's going to be a lot more static drawing, so I should go and learn some more traditional art schools. I didn't really have any ambitions to be an animator. Of course, now looking back at it, I think, oh, geez, I could have learned a wonderful skill there. But went to San Francisco State, learned how to paint. Quite frankly, I haven't picked up a paintbrush since I graduated back in 1990. I went back to the same old pen and ink drawings that I've been doing since I was a kid.
According to your resume, you worked on non-Disney properties, including TMNT, Back to the Future, Transformers, My Little Pony. What's it like working with these properties?
It's fun because you're getting paid to do fan art. It really is. So my first job out of college was doing T-shirts for the Ninja Turtles. I would do the actual T-shirt design that you see on the front. Nowadays, a lot of T-shirt art is just taking style guide artwork and putting a different color on it, putting a logo on it, and slapping it on a T-shirt. But when I was doing this back then, we would have kind of free reign to draw whatever we wanted to draw the way we wanted to draw it. And so I got really good at doing Ninja Turtles back then. And it was kind of nice because it led to doing work at Playmates. It led to work doing some licensing artwork for Mirage. And I just found I had a knack for doing licensed art. And that actually led me to my first comics gig, which was doing Animaniacs comics back when the show was on the air.
Right.
And that was because I was a big fan of the show anyway. Used to watch it all the time, and it almost feels like a real privilege working on characters that you love. Which leads into the Darkwing Duck stuff, because I've always been a huge Disney fan, and once and being a big Carl Barks fan, hey, I'm joining the rarefied group of people that get to draw Disney ducks, right. and it's been a thrill.
Right. I think we have some questions about your experience with Darkwing Duck.
Sure.
Yes.
We'll definitely get your Kickstarter done.
No rush.
Okay.
Harold.
So, how did you become involved with Darkwing Duck?
So, Boom Studios, who had the Disney license at the time, had actually a great system for finding new artists. They had a message board set up just on their website, and they just said, "Post your artwork here, post your stuff, see what you got." And they had the Muppets license as well. This was in the beginning of their Disney license, where they had Pixar, the Muppets, and they were doing reprints of the Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck comics from Europe. But I was really excited about the Muppets, and so I did a Muppet sample, posted on the message board. That day, I got an email from Aaron Sparrow, who was the Disney editor there, and he said, "Hey, how fast can you get to work?" They had some scheduling. They had some scheduling problems with one of their Muppet comics, and I said I could start tomorrow. And it literally just fell into my lap like that. A few weeks later, he said, "Hey, can you do some covers for me? We need some B covers and C covers. And why don't you do an Incredibles, do a Finding Nemo, do a Mickey Mouse, and just for giggles here, let's do a Darkwing Duck cover." I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe they were gonna, maybe it was something for down the road, and so I did that, and I guess that turned out to be his favorite. Just as I'm about to start the last issue of the Muppet book I was working on, he said, he goes, "Hey, we were going to have you do the next Muppet. These were Muppet fairy tales they were doing at the time. Can you?" He goes, "I'd like to put you on the Darkwing Duck comics." And I was thinking, "Oh, bummer! I wanted to do more Muppets." But then I thought, what are you thinking? Because with the way Carl Barks was such an influence on me, there's no way I could turn down doing a Duck comic. And it went from there. The book was meant to be a 4-issue miniseries, and it was ongoing after the first issue printed. So we did it for a few years and had a fantastic run.
So since you worked on the Boom Studios and Joe Books runs, was there a difference in the experience working on either one?
Funny stories. So with the Boom stuff, Disney was very hands-off with what we were doing. Because quite frankly, at the time, I don't think, I know lately there's been a big Disney afternoon revival. The 2017 DuckTales show brought back so many great things from the Disney afternoon. Yeah. But this was back in 2010, and honestly, we'd send in questions about Darkwing Duck, and their response back was, "Darkwing Duck, do we still own that?" and so we got away with a lot. And I always have to say that when it came to what the vision was for Darkwing, I have to give all the credit to Aaron Sparrow, because this was his passion project from day one. So many times on that, I felt I was just along for the ride. But when it came to the artwork, I always thought Darkwing was about parody. It was parodying Batman. It was parodying The Shadow. It was parodying, superhero comics.
Right.
And I loved throwing in Easter eggs from other Disney properties in there, because that's always a big thing they do in the movies. They throw in little Easter eggs from other movie productions. And I thought, why don't they do this in comics? And again, with John Severin being that influence, he would throw little things in the background. cameo characters in the background and such, and so I started doing that more and more with the Darkwing stuff, and nobody ever said anything. Nobody ever said anything at Disney. They were just let things go. I was throwing in Pixar stuff. I was throwing in Muppet stuff. Marvel and Star Wars weren't there at the time, but believe me, I would have if I could have. And it didn't ever raise a problem until the reprints. And when other companies wanted to reproduce the material, then there was a kind of, well, can we go in and take out the Easter eggs? I said, no, those are kind of the things that are holding the page together there. So then a few years later, when we were doing it for Joe Books, they kind of put the hammer down and said no more references of other Disney properties in there. But otherwise, with the writing, the creator of Darkwing, Tad Stones, was always a big no continuity guy. And we always defer to what Tad says. He's such a wonderful supporter of what we do. But I think that was his only quirk with us, is that we had a continuity to our story. Of course, we were continuing from the original show, but we had a timeline that we kind of followed with our comics as well. So things that we started in the first issue didn't pay off until 10 or 15 issues later. But that was only Tad. Disney didn't really give us grief one way or another. So, and then and that's the same with the Joe Books. I mean, we continued our story that we started, and unfortunately, it ended after issue 8. And there's a lot more story we had to tell. But who knows? Maybe we'll get to go back and do that one day.
We just so happen to have all 8.
I believe you signed them all.
Did I sign those?
Yeah.
Yes. You signed all of them.
Man, I am a nice guy.
So, another question we had was what it was like working with Aaron Sparrow or Ian Brill, and did you have any story input of your own?
I did. When it came to the visuals, I was given pretty much free reign for stuff. It was, Aaron was especially thoughtful on this stuff because he knows what I like to draw. So he would write stuff around, dinosaurs and, giant monsters and such, because it's, that kind of stuff is fun to draw. Unfortunately, he also gave me a lot of crowd scenes to draw, so that'll be my only bit of grief that I get. Had never had any problems with the writers I worked with, and yes, I was given a lot of and story input, because we did very much work in the Marvel style. As far as I was given up an outline for the page a lot of times, and what happens from A to B to C, and so I just had to do whatever it took to get there. And I was also a bigger fan of not putting as many panels on the page as were given to me sometime. So if they wrote something as 8 panels or 10 panels, and I said this could be done in 4, then I never got any argument. So. Worked out real nice.
You have to trust the artist sometimes.
So is there any issue or storyline that you enjoyed drawing in particular, if you remember?
I think, of all things, my favorite was Crisis on Infinite Darkwings. If nothing else, for the satisfaction of knowing that every multiverse story that came after us, pretty much, we did it first. Spider-Verse, where would they be without us? But the best part about that storyline too was the way it was originally written, the original scripts that I got, there was only about 8 or 10 different Infinite Darkwings. I mean, we had the bowling ball Darkwing, we had the quiverwing duck, and a few. But then again, I was wanting to have fun with the artwork, so I just started drawing more Infinite Darkwings in the background, and unless they weren't specified in the script, I tried not to repeat any of them as well. So, I mean, we had Doctor Who Darkwing in the background, we had Captain America, we had Darth Vader, we had, you know, whatever kind of Infinite Darkwings that I could. I pull up a random image on my computer and I turn it into a Darkwing. So, including several friends that showed up as well. So that was it was the hardest to draw, but it was the most fun to draw, and it was the most satisfying storyline, I think. So.
Since we read the Joe books run, wanted to mention our favorite issue that we remember was the convention one.
The Spider Phoenix, yes.
Yeah.
Again, that was a lot of fun to draw because I drew in a lot of Comic-Con experiences for that one. So.
Yeah, it felt accurate.
Yeah.
90s comics, please just take them.
No, it helped. We also like Splatter Phoenix as a villain.
I think I had a lot of fun with that because I got to draw in a bunch of different styles.
Yeah.
For that one. The one joke, I don't know if anybody got in that when we were switching from to the different art styles is the big joke between Aaron and I was I don't know how much you guys know about the way Disney comics are done, but for years now they've had a studio in Milan where pretty much all the Disney comics are produced. They have a studio system there, as opposed to America where all the artists are freelance and they work out of their house. This is all done in the studio over there, and there's a distinctive house style that is done, and it's very European looking. And our big joke is, you know, all the characters look like they should be playing soccer. So if you notice, we did the Darkwing, the sequence we did for the European comics is they're all playing soccer in the teams.
Yeah.
Again, our own little private joke, but Disney, we didn't offend anybody at Disney, so they didn't.
I can tell you had a lot of fun drawing the issue.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Plus, my first you know, stab at doing manga style artwork. So
yeah. So speaking of drawing, our understanding is for the definitively dangerous edition of the Boom Run, you had the opportunity to redraw artwork.
I did. So when we first started the comics, I think this was 2010, we had no reference whatsoever, especially for that first issue. What was nice is after the second or third issue, the people at the studios, Disney Studios Archives in Glendale, they let us come in and grab model sheets and make copies of them. So then I was able to get some reference for the original animation. But before that, it was, you know, I was just getting as many internet screen grabs as I could get back in 2010. And when the opportunity came up to actually go in and fix these things, I went all George Lucas on this stuff. I go, oh yeah, let me, yeah, megavolt shoots first. I don't care. That's why I was very happy to go in and be able to clean up and fix some of that artwork. if I had more time and more resources, I probably would have redrawn the whole thing. But I was fine getting to fix what I could. So.
Yeah, we're actually going to ask if there are any other Darkwing Duck stories or illustrations you wish you could have drawn differently.
Uh, boy, it's weird because the way I draw Darkwing now, yeah, I still draw them all the time. I mean, that's the most when I'm doing commissions and such. The most requests I still get are for Darkwing, and I look at the way I draw them now and compared to the way I drew them back then, and you know, it wasn't bad, but I think I'm a better artist now.
Yeah.
In general.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. And also when it comes to, I mean, a monthly comic grind is a lot of work. I mean, it really takes it out of you. The Muppet comics that I told you I started off on with Boom, I had to get that penciled and inked in 2 weeks. I mean, because they were trying to get things back on schedule, and that was tough enough. And I thought, oh, never going to do this again. When I was, and then we started on the Darkwing Duck. Luckily, we had a 30-day window, but the way the schedule worked was, you had to pencil the artwork, send it to Disney for approval, and then while you're waiting for that approval, you ink the previous month's book that had been sent back approved. So I was 2 weeks penciling, 2 weeks inking, 2 weeks penciling, 2 weeks inking. Over 18 issues, that got to be quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
Then we got to the Darkwing and DuckTales crossover at the end of the Boom run, and because we only had so many weeks to get that done because the license was ending, I was doing penciling and inking of the entire books in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't have that month's time because I was inking over the other artists' work on DuckTales and then penciling on and inking the stuff on my end. Luckily, I had Amy Meberson, who was who's a friend from the doing the Disney comics. She was helping me out a great deal with the pencils, and then I would do my pencil pass over hers and then the inking, and that was a 2-month period where, man, I drew a lot, and I never want to have to do that again. So.
When Boom was losing the license for Darkwing, there was the Dangerous Currency story.
I'm sorry, what?
The Dangerous Currency story.
Yeah, I don't know this story. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Our understanding of that story was that was kind of a weird legal situation, so like can't be reprinted.
Well, it's just I don't know how much of it is a legal thing. It just wasn't any good. It was rushed. There were some personality clashes when it came to things, and as far as the story goes, and we had a vision for the book the way it was originally, because during this time I get a pass from the writer from Ian, and then Aaron Sparrow and I would kind of go back and rewrite or replot a lot of the story that was going on. We were kind of building up to what was going to happen in the crossover because we knew it was coming. We just didn't know we'd have such a short window to work on it. Yeah. And we came up with we thought was a good solid story, and by that time we couldn't get it approved in time before everything was the license was ending and everything was going to print. So we had to kind of take a mishmash of everything that had already been approved and story wise, it wasn't good. So we believe me, we all did our best on it, but we were happy not to have to include that in the definitively dangerous edition that we put out. So,
did you mention earlier you were a fan of the Darkwing Duck cartoon?
yes, complete honesty. I think I watched more DuckTales than I did Darkwing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I thought Darkwing was a lot of fun. Very, very well done cartoon. DuckTales, I was just obsessed with them because it was the Uncle Scrooge stories.
Yeah.
I think Scrooge McDuck is one of the great literary heroes of all time. I mean, I love everything about Scrooge. So, but yes, I did watch Darkwing as well. So.
So when Trevor and I were growing up, we watched Darkwing Duck, and we liked it. And then recently, we ended up rewatching the whole thing on Disney Plus, and we still liked it. We also like the interpretation of Darkwing and the 2017 DuckTales.
Mm-hmm. Yep, loved. I had a nice. I was privileged actually. To, I guess, see some behind the scenes stuff on the DuckTales cartoon before it came out, the reboot. And I walked into the office of the producer, and he actually had a bunch of the Darkwing comics all spread on his desk. So it was really a nice feeling knowing that, hey, they read some of our stuff too. There's maybe some sort of little reference in there. So I thought the new DuckTales cartoon was brilliant, though. I mean, the way they did Darkwing, I love the way they did Scrooge, I love the way they did the boys, the nephews, and it was a fantastic show. Sorry it didn't go on longer.
Yeah.
So.
It was sad when it ended.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very sad, but one of those rare shows that I can go back and watch maybe once a year and end up going through the whole season in a couple of weeks. So
yeah. So a couple more questions about Darkwing. Do you have a favorite Darkwing Duck character in general?
I think it would have to be Negaduck, just because there is no better Disney villain. I don't think. He's not a getting revenge on a princess or such like that. He just wants to shoot bunnies with a shotgun. I mean, he wants to take a chainsaw to things. I think that's just being a bad guy for a bad guy. The characterization, the way Jim Cummings did that was just perfect. So, so Darkwing and Negaduck was definitely my favorite to draw as well. So,
did you have a least favorite character to draw?
Okay, I've never told anybody this before, so you guys are giving exclusive. I thought Goslin was the hardest character to nail.
Yeah.
She had such a cuteness to her that I don't think I was ever able to truly capture perfectly. I think the only one I really got any grief for from outside was my Morgana. There's a touch to doing female characters, I think.
Yeah.
Which I have had to learn along the way. I think my Morgana's gotten better, but Goslin is just still the hardest one to nail. It's like, as any Disney artist will tell you, no matter what they work on, whether it's merchandise or animation or anything, the hardest character to nail is Mickey Mouse because it's the simplest character.
Yeah.
But when it's Mickey Mouse, it's Mickey Mouse. It's not just the nose and the ears and the eyes and such. There is a look to that character, and if you don't get it 100%, It's oh, that's a Mickey Mouse knockoff. That's not Mickey. That's why those new Mickey shorts are so the ones that are on Disney Channel. That they managed to not take the old Mickey and just spruce them up. That's its own Mickey, and it's better than trying to reproduce a real Mickey in a short format like that. So anyway.
And our last question on Darkwing is, if you had the chance to work on a Darkwing Duck comic again, would you?
I mean, I have other things I want to work on, but I mean, how can I say no? I had such a good time working on it. It was fun. I love the character. What was great about working on Darkwing is that it handles my superhero niche. Every comic book artist at some point wants to draw Batman, right? Yeah. They want to draw or Spider-Man or something like that. I think this is about the closest I'm ever going to get to drawing Batman. So, but it's also funny, and I'm a cartoonist. I mean, I like drawing funny stuff. So, lets me draw Batman and lets me draw it funny. So, I would have no problem going back and doing some more Darkwing.
All right. So now we'd like to move on
to your Kickstarter.
Yes.
Pirates: A Graphic History.
Yes,
Like,
with the subheading, but not that kind of graphic.
Yeah. Talk about pirates.
Yes, pirates.
Yeah. Oh, what do we got there?
That's an old Duel Masters card.
Oh.
It's a pirate.
Yeah. I didn't put that in the book.
You still have time. You were nice enough to send us sort of a, not the finished product, but sort of the pages and everything. And I've read most of it. I think they've read it all, but it's very informative, very well drawn.
Oh, thank you.
And you learn a lot about pirates.
Mm-hmm. Then my job is done. Good night, everybody.
Mic drop and walk away. So what inspired you to pursue pirates?
So I did a previous book for this was Penguin Random House. It was a book on how to draw dinosaurs. And it was called Draw-A-Saurus. Came out 10 years ago or so. And when we were doing the book, it was great that I did the how to draw dinosaurs instructions through the artwork, but they also let me do the writing as well. And I infused that with a lot of humor. And I was really happy that a lot of the response I got back from the book was not only did I learn a lot about dinosaurs and how to draw dinosaurs, but it made me laugh as well. So I thought that it made me think back to, like, you look at a show like Animaniacs, they did a lot of educational stuff on there, a lot of history, a lot of through song and humorous bits and things like that. It was always based in historical fact, though. And I thought there was not enough comics like that. And so the publisher of the dinosaur book came to me at one point and said, hey, if you have another nonfiction type of book you want to do, let us know. And so I thought, what would be the most fun to draw? And pirates kind of just hit me right there. That would be fun to draw. Started doing the research. This was about 7 years ago that I actually started the research on it. Did quite a bit of that and was doing sketching along the way, sketching down what I learned. And a book came together, 150 or 160 pages. And it and I didn't just do it just a straight history narrative. I did a part of it is the history, part of it is biographies of individual pirates, and it's also how to be a pirate. So I do, how to elect a captain, how to read a map, how to do the rigging on a ship, how to load a flintlock. Yeah, the things in case you ever guys want to go out and do some piracy.
We're putting it to work next summer. No.
Yeah, you get a 401k with that. So anyway, did the pencils and the writing for the book. Went back to the publisher, and unfortunately the management had changed there at the time, because, like I said, it took me 7 years to put this book together. I also realized too that every book that I've done for a publisher, one of the harsh realities of publishing these days is very rarely does a book make back its advance. And I thought, hey, this Kickstarter thing looks kind of cool. So many people I know in the industry have really made a go of this, and I thought, let's give it a shot. So this will actually be my first Kickstarter.
How intensely did you research the topic? I mean, you said you spent 7 years on it.
Yeah, it was. I immersed myself in several books. The go-to book for most people will look at to begin their research is called Pirates: A General History, and it was written back in the day, back in the 1700s. They think back then that it was actually a nom de plume for Defoe, the guy who wrote Robinson Crusoe, and but it's a great history. It's got a lot of the you're getting a lot of firsthand reports. Unfortunately, it's written in English from back in that point, and it's very hard to understand. So I've read several books that are actually more explainers for that book, and but a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of documentaries, a lot of that along the way, and it all came together to tell the narrative the way I wanted to tell it, in more of a humorous way.
Yeah, you throw in humor a lot, and there's I think they pointed out to me when talk about the War of 1812 and the British invasion. You've got the Beatles in there, which is really fun.
Okay, so maybe I threw in a few Easter eggs.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular that surprised you to find out, or fascinated you?
Boy, one thing I point out in right now I'm writing the description for my Kickstarter, and just that everything that you think about pirates is pretty much wrong. Everybody thinks they talk with the accent, and 90% of the pirates out there were London, poor Londoners that pretty much got shanghaied into military service, and then they mutinied and jumped ship. That pirate accent that you think of was actually based on one actor who played Long John Silver in Treasure Island.
Which we happen to have right here.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, and that was his natural way of speaking. It was a West Country English accent, and everybody thought, oh well, pirates must talk like that. But also, pirates didn't bury treasure. Pirates didn't, you didn't walk the plank. I mean, of course, the rum parts are all true, but
they like their rum.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of the I guess that we were talking about how Treasure Island sort of set the stage as what people think of as pirates. but then you've got Pirates of the Caribbean, which sort of changed it a little bit. I mean, obviously it's more. There's a lot of humor in that as well.
It's like now more pirates are Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. How accurate was their depiction in that movie?
From my research, it really wasn't that far off. I mean, these guys did their research as far as the clothing, as far as the ship. I know one of the great debates for Pirates of the Caribbean is what kind of ship is the Black Pearl? Because it's kind of an amalgam of a couple different types of pirate ships or ships that pirates would use at the time. The most common ship a pirate would use actually would be a sloop, which is the smallest type of multi-passenger ship out there. And what made it an ideal pirate ship is that they were small and they were fast and they could get away if need be as quick as possible. The Black Pearl is what you would think of more as a more traditional pirate ship. So I think they took elements from a frigate, from a Guinea man, from maybe a little bit of a galleon in there too at the time, and it made a very believable pirate ship. I mean, of course, there's very little of evidence of what exactly those ships look like these days outside of drawings.
Right.
But they did a pretty good job of it. I also think it's one thing that they got right is when you see traditional aspects of pirate clothing, you always think there's a pirate look, right?
Yeah.
You know, like a uniform for pirates. Pirates were thieves. Pirates were criminals. They took whatever was around at the time. So if they saw somebody on a ship that had a nice coat, they're going to take that guy's coat because they're not going out to the Gap or whatever to pick up
the mall.
Yeah, the mall to say, "Ooh, that's Pirates R Us right there." No, they're going to take whatever whatever they can steal, whatever they can take, and it just pretty much they were the look of sailors at the time. So so yes, there is no pirate look. So
it was interesting to me. You get into what they wore, like the shoes, and they didn't wear the boots everybody thinks they wore and they went barefoot a lot of times. It was very there was a lot of educational stuff in there as well.
Yeah. No, I was, and those were more surprises that came around. You know, everybody thinks of pirates wearing the big, the Cavalier boots, the Martian Manhunter, rollover boots, and just imagine if you went overboard in a pair of those boots. Yeah.
Seems like it's dumb.
Yeah. So most of the time, pirates went barefoot, or they just had little shoes, which were the slip-on buckle shoes at the time. But of course, when you had those, you weren't allowed to wear those underneath the deck, below deck, because they had a metal sole to them, and if a spark came up, guess what else is below deck? All the gun. So there goes your ship.
So did your research change your view of pirates?
It really definitely takes any romantic notion that you might have about pirates when you do the research, because I mean, these guys were just nasty son of a bitches. They were criminals. They were the gangs of the time. And I do get into a section about the pirate code. It's not the romantic, big old book that they had in the movies. But there was a code that you followed, and it really was organized crime at the time. The only thing it didn't have is the the hierarchy of the mafia or such. Kind of every ship was there for themselves, and they all had a respect for each other. There was of course a few pirates who didn't care about what anybody else thought of them, but most pirates had a loose a loose respect for each other. But anything outside of piracy was fair game. So yeah, they were pretty much just common criminals of the day.
Do you have a favorite historical pirate?
I do. Bartholomew Roberts, I think, was the one I came away with the most. I thought was the most intriguing. He was one of the later pirates of the era. There was 3 distinct eras of what they called the golden age of piracy. There was the buccaneering era, which was the kind of the free for all, especially around the Caribbean. The second period was the pirate round, where the pirates all got chased out of the Caribbean and had to go to the Indian Ocean for their stuff, for their ill-gotten gains. Then there was the post era from the War of Spanish Succession, which kind of brought piracy back to the Caribbean. When they had a crackdown after that, they tried to do the pirate round again back in the Indian Ocean, and Black Bart, which he came to be known by, was one of the pirates of that era. And I just like his style. I thought he had he was the, when you think of the pirate captain, they're always very well dressed. They got the feathers in the hat. They got the whole, that sort of thing was reserved for the captain. Pirates were very democratic in their, everybody gets an equal share sort of things. The captain just happened to get a little more of an equal share. And Black Bart would spend, he would get the nicest jewels for himself. He'd get the nicest clothes. And Guy also didn't drink. He was a teetotaler. So he was a tea drinker, not a rum drinker. And, anger management issues on his end. But I thought he was the more of the definitive pirate for me. That did things his own way.
Okay. Any questions you want to ask?
When you were writing the book, how did you figure out like the right balance between information and humor?
I tried to do it where, as far as the writing goes, I tried to keep it to 1 gag a page, because I didn't want to, you don't want to confuse things. So
yeah.
That's always kind of a rule when you're doing humor comics. Is it may be a 22-page book, but you got story for in a 6-panel page. You do story, gag for the last one. So I tried to keep the actual written punchline just to 1 a page. But when it came to the artwork, I wanted to make this interesting to look at. I wanted to make this fun for whether you're a kid or adult reading this thing. So I tried to keep the artwork. You've seen the book. It's not serious, characterizations of pirates. I had fun with it. I had fun with the artwork, and I tried to, keep all the artwork humorful and lively, and so each panel will have, a little visual gag in there, but the actual page gag comes at the, just 1 per page.
Right. I want to mention, even in the sketch phase, I was actually laughing out loud at some of the drawing. Yeah.
You don't like to toot your own horn, but I did have a lot of fun with this book. This turned out as much work as it was. I've never worked harder on a project than I have on this one. But as hard as it was very satisfying at the end. And yes, I did make myself laugh. Like, oh, hey, that, especially when you're writing something and you've tried out 5 or 6 gags and none of them work, and then when that one hits you, that yes, that's what I want for that. It is very it's very satisfying. So.
I feel the passion for the topic.
Yes.
Yeah, it really was. So depending on how this Kickstarter goes, I have a few more ideas planned. And they're subjects that I don't think have been covered in comics today or graphic novels. And they all turned out to be the real scumbags of history. Like the next book I want to do is something based on the Old West, where I give the cowboys the treatment that I gave the pirates. So you can learn about Billy the Kid and the Clantons, and we'll see where that one goes. And then after that, I'd kind of like to do a book about the mafia.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see how this one comes out. And if you do, then you'll be seeing a wacky, nutty book about the mafia.
While we're talking about pirates, I was wondering out of curiosity if you happen to have at least heard of this manga series called One Piece.
I have, yes. As I've been posting artwork over the last couple of years, I thought it was amazing the number of responses that I got online of people who, if I posted a picture of Blackbeard, or if I posted a picture of some of the other historical pirates, the number of people said, "Wait, that was a real person?" Man, I had no idea about the reach that One Piece has, as far as and then I still haven't watched the live action one, but I've been catching up on some of the comics, and it's a fun read. I mean, it's a very fun. I've seen a little of the animation. But I mean, now I get what all these little yellow straw hats were that I've been seeing around the Comic-Con for the past 10 years are all about. Yeah. So, unfortunately, I think I've fallen into the trap that a lot of creators do. I from the conventions and such, I know a lot of. I've made a lot of friends in the industry, and the number one thing that is common amongst everybody is nobody has time to read comics anymore. It's kind of a sad thing, but when you're a working artist, that takes up so much of your day, and your comics reading time is very limited, unfortunately. So that is on my One Piece is on my to-do pile, but I think I got about 6 years of Batman to catch up before I get to
it. That's funny. I was actually going to say that when I was reading the book, I was making reading your book. I was making connections with like certain One Piece characters being named after certain historical pirates.
not a lot of not a lot of base. I think I did a little more research on my book.
Yeah, right. Also wondered if you were aware of the band Ailstorm.
I am not aware of that.
They are a pirate-themed metal band.
Oh. I got to go download that one right now.
So
no, I haven't heard of them. I've actually been, again, if the Kickstarter is successful, I'll be able to print up the book and such. But I've been looking into. I didn't realize how many like pirate fests there are out there.
Yeah.
Gatherings of pirate people and sort of Ren Fair sort of gathering, and I thought, hey, then new place to push the book at. So
yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter itself. Like, what are you pricing the book at, and is there anything else, other rewards or whatever that you're
Yeah.
planning?
So I'm planning on launching the Kickstarter on the 24th of this month. I will offer a digital copy of the book for $10. I'm still going through quotes from a printer, but the copy of just the book itself, it'll be a soft cover, 160 pages, somewhere between $25 and $30.
Wow.
For the book. I will do an early bird pricing. If you order within the first 24 hours, you get $5 off that. I'm also going to include tiers of to get a remark in the book. I think I'll price that at another $10, so you get a little drawing of a pirate inside the front cover. Then I will have a tier where you can get a commission to go with the book. I'll probably offer maybe 20 of those, and that will be $200. The one which I think will be the most fun, which I don't have a pricing for yet, is if you contribute to this tier, you can either get your name or the name of a loved one on the back of one of the ships. Like it could be the HMS Mary Sue or something like that. Or you can be drawn in the background as a pirate. Yeah, so that'll be. I've left on the pages, on the pencils, a couple of blank faces on there. So we'll see what that's into. I think the big tier that I'm going to do is the complete library of my work. So you can get the pirate book as well as the out of print Darkwing trades, which I have managed to find 3 copies of. So that will be a little more pricier. I haven't worked out the exact price on that yet, but I will have 3 copies of that, so you can get the pirate book, the Definitively Dangerous edition, and then the 2 Joe Books trades. And I'll also include the Draw-A-Saurus in that one too.
Yeah.
So, well, those are my tiers, and then of course I have some rewards that I'll have coming up too. I have as far as the stretch goals.
Right.
Probably have one that includes stickers with it. I might do a set of trading cards, and then the real stretch. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible because I'm in my looking at Kickstarters. There's so many different, embossed covers and
Steel and
I wanted to keep it simple, so I think my real stretch goal will be to add more content to the book. So I have about another 8 to 12 pages of content that I will add if it reaches a certain goal.
Do you want to tell us what your goal is?
Right now, like I said, I'm still waiting on some things, but I'd like to raise 10,000.
Okay.
That'll get the book printed. So
Yeah.
if I can hit that, it'll be a happy day. Now, I would like to raise more than that, if nothing else, is that I can hire somebody else to color it. Because right now I'm doing the colors, and coloring is hard work. I was so privileged to have Andrew Dalhouse as my colorist on the Darkwing stuff, and he's a DC colorist. I think he works mostly for Dynamite these days, and does a fantastic job. He and I really worked well together. So he's that's my gold standard there. If I could have somebody even with a fifth of his talent coloring my stuff, I'd be happy. But again, that would probably be an extra. I'd probably need to raise about 17,000 on the Kickstarter to hire an outside colorist. So,
well, I mean, based on what I've read, it's well worth what you're asking for.
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, I think it was. I really the details of the ships, and you go into how things worked, and it's a lot of great detail in there.
Oh, thank you very much. I think some of my colleagues give me a little grief for as much detail as I put in there, but you want to get it right.
Yeah, That's very important.
especially when it comes to pirate stuff. I mean, there's so many pirate historians out there. They're going to know if you're bullshitting them on this.
Yeah.
Got to get it as right as possible.
All right, so I guess a couple final questions. Just general. How often do you get commissioned for non-duck characters?
It's about 50-50. Yeah. I have people that have been commissioning me for years for non-duck characters. They have series of things that they do. But it's still mostly in the Disney realm that I get my commissions with. So anytime I get something outside of that, I always put a little more oomph into it, because it's like, hey, I get to draw something. I get to draw Spider-Man.
Is there any work you've done you wish people were more aware of?
Well, I'm hoping a lot of people are aware of the pirate book. I mean, I always am happy when I'm at a convention and people bring up my dinosaur book.
Yeah.
I love that when a parent brings up their kid and they have a very well-worn version of the dinosaur book, because they've drawn in the margins, they've colored things in, and they bring me their own stack of drawings. And knowing that I made so many kids happy with that book, it would be great if I could make all the kids happy with that book. So it's still available. I always bring it with me to conventions, and I'm very happy with the reaction I get for it. So I do wish more people would pick that up. But hey, you can get that when you get the pirate book.
Is there any advice you would give to a prospective artist?
So much advice. I mean, there's a few people that I'm mentoring right now, as a matter of fact, and it always seems to be a lot of the same lessons. One is reference. Use reference all the time. You don't have to copy things, but look at how things work. If you're drawing a character with, that's pointing to something, look at reference for how a hand looks when it's pointing. Don't just assume that that's, that the way they do it in comics is the right way. One of my big tutorials that I really had fun with, and I'm actually considering doing this for an upcoming Kickstarter, is how to draw hats. There are so many, even comic professionals out there who don't know how to draw hats. There's rules to this, and if you look at a lot of manga, you look at the way 90% of comic artists out there draws a Tana with her top hat. That's not how a top hat looks. You have to look up the reference for this stuff. So don't be afraid to look up reference for everything. I think I did a post about this one time where I was pointing out the reference that I had to look up reference 15 times for one page of my pirate book that I was doing, but it wasn't for pirate stuff. It was, how to hold or how to make it look like somebody's taking the top off a bottle, how to make, how to pull on shoes, things like that, because you can fake that stuff, but it's not going to look believable. So when you look at the reference, even if you're drawing real cartoony stuff, there's a way to make it look right, and that's the number one advice that I can give. So don't be afraid of reference, and also don't be, it doesn't always have to be already existing artwork. So there's reference. Use real life. So.
Do you have any hobbies outside of drawing, or is it basically just like drawing all the time?
Well, no. I mean, I have my dogs that keep me very busy. Otherwise, like I said, I'm lucky to live in Hawaii, so spend a lot of time taking them to the beach, and plus I also surf and get out on the water as much as I can. And what else? Just normal day to day. So I always make sure to watch a couple movies a week, and I'm a big letterbox cinephile kind of guy. So movies, and then spend as much time with my family as I can. So my wife works a busy job as well, and so our time together is precious. So yeah.
We ask all our guests this question, and if you've never heard of it, that's fine.
Well, you don't have to roll your eyes when you say it.
Well, have you ever?
I haven't heard it before, so there you go.
Well, no. We do a comic book called Power Squared, which is why you're on the air with Power Squared. Have you ever heard of it, read it, or? Nope, it's okay.
I gotta go. Bye.
Again, you're not the first person to say they've never heard of it.
Yeah, believe it. So we have on Maui here. We have one comic book shop, and
we're not in a store either. So
yeah. Oh no. It's yeah. But my comic. I'll tell you. I mean, we didn't bring this up, but I read 2 comic books with any regularity, and I read Love and Rockets, and I read The Goon. And anything outside of that, I barely know it exists. I do apologize.
That's cool. You're not, again, no one's ever heard of us. We might send you a couple of issues just as a thank you for being on the show.
I would really appreciate that.
Okay.
That would be great.
So if someone wanted to follow you, what's the best way?
My handles are Silvani Art on everything. SILVANIART. So Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter. I'm still on that, but it's X or whatever it is.
I still call it Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's still Twitter. There, he's never going to change that. So, it's like the box of tissues is going to be a Kleenex, and it's always going to be Twitter. So,
so one more plug for your Kickstarter. When does it start?
The 24th of this month. It's called Pirates: A Graphic History. Subtitle, but not that kind of graphic. And I would really appreciate everybody's support on it.
Can you sign up ahead of time to find out about it, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just look up Pirates of Graphic History on Kickstarter, and there is a button to be notified when the campaign goes live.
Okay, good. I will sign up.
Yes.
All right. So
thank you.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck with your Kickstarter.
Thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Well, good. So until next time, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
I'm Trevor Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.